to Underrated Movies. I'm your guy, I'm your man, Mr. Alton Henry. Today I'm going to talk to you of a underrated show, anime show. And I'm going to start doing more animes on here. Explain my, uh, you know, genre pieces. I'm also an anime fan. And to see that at least one of my videos, I forgot what it was, talking about anime, kicked off a little bit. I mean, not like big, but kicked off. So I'm going to do a little bit more of them and see how it goes. And this one I actually grew up watching. I think, when did I discover it? When I was 8 or 9? Maybe a little bit too young when I first watched it. And this is the 3x3 Eyes. Story about a young boy who is given the task by his late father to help a young teenage girl to become human. After discovering she is a demon with a third eye who is harvesting a sacred entity that's from a otherworldly generation of sorcerer demons. And the main character, Yakumo, accompanies Pai to on this quest to somehow figure out a way to become human. And I'm not sure if I haven't read the manga, so I'm not sure if the manga is ever finished. I don't know if what was the conclusion to it. But and I know there's like some sort of game. I've seen footage of it. But this is one of those. This is an OVA, but there's one of those OVAs to where I feel like it could have continued and concluded. And that's the thing I really don't like about OVAs sometimes, is that they'll just do a few episodes, and sometimes they don't even bother concluding the story. And it just exists. There's some OVAs that do, but I think really half of them are like just experimental to see if they're going to go anywhere. And but what I liked about this, there's only really 7 episodes. Part 1's called Immortals. The second one is called Legend of the Divine Demon. And I think I like Legend of the Divine Demon a little bit more, even though it's a little bit shorter in episode. Well, not shorter in length, but it has 3 episodes. Immortals has 4. And what really struck about me was the characters. I like the story, and I actually like how dark it was when it came to how it impacted the story. And it had a lot of depth into it. It actually really had like a forbidden love that that you saw these two characters slowly develop over time. It had that kind of like forbidden love, but also has that kind of like tragic love to where you really feel for the characters and wanting them, to get together. And it's not like a romance, but I thought it had a very impactful, emotional journey of wanting to see these characters conclude, fulfill their story arcs, and have a happy ending. And there's somewhat like a happy ending. There's a happy ending kind of towards the second OVA, but it ends in a way to where I feel like there could have been more. Now, again, this is a mature anime, so this is violent. It gets gory violent. Like, you have this character, Yakumo, who has to help this girl who's from a clan known as the Sanjian, a ancient civilization of 3-eyed demons who possess the power or the knowledge of secret immortality and can grant anybody immortality. They're on a journey to basically make, and the Sanjian's dealing with split personality. So there's one personality that's the innocent girl Pai, and then you have the Sanjian priest. And the Sanjian wants to fulfill her other counterparts' wish of wanting to become human. Now we don't know what could happen with the Sanjian. We don't know if by having that, we don't know if their bodies will be split into two, and the Sanjian and the Pi will have their own separate bodies. We don't know. There's nothing that clarifies in the anime, in the OVA, that will. There's really nothing that's clarifying whether or not that happens if Sanjian and Yakumo succeeds at their goal. Now, there's a price. Now, being the Sanjian's protector, Yakumo is granted the power of immortality. He is given a little symbol on his head. I guess it's called Wu, which basically signifies that he is the bodyguard of the Sanjian, and he is immortal. So basically, he can't die. So he gets ripped apart, chewed up, beaten up, burned up. He will heal no matter what, and it actually shows in some graphic detail in the anime of him healing. And it gets pretty cool. It gets very mythological and very supernatural, and it's actually really cool. And I actually like in the first part where you root for this guy, but you understand his scenario to where since he is basically given this burden, and the guy gets killed a lot, comes the price of being inexperienced. He realizes he cannot live a normal life. He cannot go back to the how he used to live. And he doesn't have a good relationship with his dad, but that's established early on when the dad passes on and gives his burden to his son. And it shows in episode 4 where he tries to kind of go back being a normal kid, and you see the unfortunate consequences that has on his life. You begin to really understand his situation and really trying to. For me, it's like you kind of want to just tell him, like, I'm sorry, man, but you have a responsibility. You can't go back to your normal life. So now I think at first he felt like he's obligated or someone stuck now to help Pi to become human. It's actually kind of cool hearing that Keith David's voice in this anime. He has a short role in here, but knowing that he's a amazing voice actor, voices Goliath, Gargoyles. He was cool in here. He plays his advisor. I want to say advisor. His boss of a job that he has to do. It's actually kind of funny how that's all set up. And it's weird. It's weird. I won't spoil how that kind of happens a bit, but he gets a job when you first see him, he gets a job working as like some sort of like flirtatious girl at a club. And I was like, wait a minute, why would you work at? I don't know. Maybe it's a job that he just had to get, or maybe he's kind of questioning his own little sexuality, or maybe he just, you know what, this is a job. This is just something I just needed. You don't know, but it's kind of funny when you kind of learn his situation there. And what I really liked about this is still the first part, Immortals, where each episode from what it's saying, like try mission, transmigration, Yakumo sacrifice strain. Each of these titles of the episode has some sort of like theme of the episode. We're on the way, Yakumo and Pi, they meet people and they formulate a team, and each of them has some sort of stake into what it has to do with the Sanjian legacy, and then this secret, I forgot what it was they were after, like some sort of secret like base that they're trying to get that could help Pi become human.
And the character Ling Ling, like Ling Ling, she's like I think some sort of like private investigator that's a martial artist that's trying to help out. And it also has some connections to Yakumo's father. And then you have another character, I forget her name. Was it May? Who's trying to rescue her brother in the third episode, an extreme professional martial artist. And then once a certain event happens in the last episode, episode 4, which causes Pai and Yakumo to separate, Yakumo rediscovers Pai 3 years later after he takes the time of learning martial arts and becoming like some sort of monk. And while continuing the journey, he also joins like some sort of cult that also is trying to secretly prevent the main antagonist, Kaiyan Wang, and his Wu Yang, I said Wang, to prevent from unleashing his demons onto the world and cause wreak havoc. So, and then the interesting dilemma in part 2, Legend of the Divine Demon, which that one's only 3 episodes, where when he meets Pai again, she pretty much has a different personality, leading life as a particular schoolgirl, and has no recollection of Yakumo. And that honestly, that part was actually kind of heartbreaking when you have a love somebody, and I actually really felt it too. You have a love you love somebody, and then they have no recollection of who you are, and they are a completely different person. To see that journey between Yakumo, basically reinventing his or trying to reestablish his relationship with Pai again. She goes by Pabo in part 2. You can really see that connection really slowly building back up. But you also see the I guess the hurt that Yakumo feels when you become so when you kind of fall in love with this character, when you become so attached to this character. It's really difficult to see that their relationship straining, and then you kind of have to do it all over again. And the action, I think, in this one intensifies a lot more, and it gets a little bit more creative. And I actually like the journey when they were in, I think, somewhere in Tibet, rediscovering the tomb of Kanya Wang, and then going into the other different world of the Sanjian realm and seeing that they're all extinct. Which, honestly, the way that it ends, it feels like it does conclude the overall story, but it still leaves like a symbol of hope that it's possible that at least one more story could really conclude the story overall. Because when it concludes, the Sanjian does go back to normal, but not in a way, just back to the Sanjian and Pablo that we kind of know. But this other personality where there's a twist that happens during the encounter of episode 4 of part 1 reveals to what happened to Pai as to why she does not remember who Yakumo was. So when it ended and realizing that there wasn't going to be any more, honestly, I'm kind of let down by that because it felt like it feels unfinished. It feels. I mean, you can go off saying that this could be the official ending, but I feel like there's still more. And I would love for a revisit or perhaps a redo edition of 3x3, as it's actually one of my favorite animes. Hoping they would either redo it or conclude it. And I believe it would be a good time to go back and revisit this anime property. I feel like it's a forgotten gem. And to me, it has one of the most iconic theme songs to any film or anime, to anything I've ever seen, I've ever heard. It's very catchy. Actually, it's actually interesting because my dad actually liked this anime. I was watching it one Saturday or Friday, whenever there was that anime action on Stars that would happen either Thursday or Friday night. And then my dad ended up watching with me just to relax. And then he was really liking what he was seeing from this anime. And when it came on a few times, I would try to catch him and reintroduce him to this anime. This is probably the best one that he's told me that I've shown him that he really liked. Like, I just sent him the soundtrack to the main theme of the music to put to part 2, Legend of Divine Demon, and he loves it. He loves that music. I love the music too. Um, and one of my favorite moments in any anime, and it goes into the last episode, is when Yakumo tries to take on the I forgot what the bad guy was, the Kaya Wang's Wu, Benares. He tries to take him on. They're totally defeated. They're broken down, and Yakumo's bloody as hell. And he tries to take him on, and realizing that he may have no match, tells Pablo, like, no matter what, I'm gonna protect you, and mentions and profounds his love for her, and gets his ass handed to him. And I remember when he was about to do some sort of blast, and then Benares shoots his laser to bounce him off, causes him to flip over, and lands face first on the steps and crushes his face. I remember when my dad saw that, he was like, ooh. He was like, ooh. It was kind of cringeworthy to see that. And he had to get back up and just get his ass beat. And then Pi goes to him and sees that this man is willing to literally die for her, but he can't die. He can't die unless Pi dies. She tells him of the life that she remembers, the new life that she was given in part 2, and what it meant to her, but realizing that it was fake kind of just, broke her heart. But realizing her purpose in that moment, and then realizing that this man right in front of her really was in love with her and was willing to sacrifice pretty much a good chunk of his life for her, she kisses him and says a final goodbye, gives some sort of laser blast at Benares and at the Kaya Wang's tomb, which maybe it might have killed him. You think it implied that it killed him, but I'm not sure. Releases the spell, and then Pi kind of goes back being the Sanjian, but not human, which means Yakumo's still the Wu. And it was such a heartbreaking ending. It stood out to me. Like, it was like very memorable, and that's what I like. Where there's an emotional build up that it really just like it's epic. Like it's epic. It was epic. Like I loved it. And it's unfortunate that, again, this is, I think, one of those forgotten gems where, it just doesn't really get enough attention. I mean, I think it's 30 years old now. So I think the original came out in 1990, and then the sequel came out in 92 or 93. But 3x3, have you seen it? Comment below. Let me know if you have, what you thought about it, and let me know what is your favorite underrated anime.